Good morning and welcome to the Board of Education's first retreat of the year. This retreat is focused on board priorities. Our strategic plan is set to expire this June, so we want to spend some time reviewing our current plan and thinking about opportunities for growth and improvement. Identifying these priorities should also help inform and focus the work of our board committees. This morning, board members have spent time in small groups, beginning to review and discuss 3 of the current strategic plan objectives. And now we have come together so that the small groups can share their perspectives with the full board. Once this discussion concludes, we will return to our small group breakout sessions and continue discussing our strategic plan objectives. We will reconvene and discuss those as a full board again. We will recess for lunch around noon and then continue our strategic priorities discussion this afternoon. Our discussion today will be facilitated by Ms. Molly Young, Director of Board Development for the Maryland Association of Boards of Education. I will now turn it over to Molly.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Wolf. So we're going to start out, we're going to have both groups kind of give their feedback to what they discussed. And the 3 discussion questions that were talked about is the purpose and general direction of the current goal still appropriate for the upcoming strategic plan period? How do MCPS mission, vision, and core values intersect with this goal? And are any adaptations recommended to align the goal? And then finally, is the wording clear and the framing positive? So let's start with you, Ms. Mondrowski.
So thank you. Good morning. So for our group, the discussion that we had to answer the questions, is the purpose and general direction of the current goals still appropriate for the upcoming strategic plan period? We felt that the goals are still appropriate. There was a small discussion about the coronavirus, this pandemic, and whether or not that something might need to be adjusted for that. But we think, we need to reevaluate it every year. So that's part of that. How do MCPS mission, vision, and core values intersect with this goal? And are there any adaptations recommended to align with the goal? We felt that it does align. One revision that we wanted to make was we feel it's too wordy. And we had a strong discussion on whether or not the descriptions under all of these topics are necessary. And we mutually agree or unanimously agreed that they are not. So we reworded the subject lines and started working on all of them, but I'm just going to do the top 3. So instead of students ready to learn, we wrote ensuring students are ready to learn, and then removed the bottom part. For the next one, we wrote, instead of reducing and eliminating disparities in student learning, we wrote reduce and eliminate disparities in student learning. And then for the third one, students prepared for college and career, we wrote preparing students for college, career, and community. And so those were the changes that we made, our adaptations, if you will. And then is the wording clear and the framing positive? We discussed that this is a strategic plan. We felt it needs to be more of an active document as opposed to a positive, yay team type of thing. So we feel that with the changes and eliminating the additional verbiage, that it is framed appropriately. And that's all we have.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And I believe Victoria is taking notes to ensure that we've captured all of this information. Mr. Asante, would you like to discuss what your group talked about?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm going to go by category rather than by question. So for the first category, students ready to learn, I think one thing that we discussed was when this category was created, or when this item point was made, that it was relevant to the time, but now it may not be as relevant, or the category itself may need to be expanded. We talked about how our pre-K program and early childhood programs have improved over time. And so it may be time to put less focus on them per se and add additional items into this category to discuss or to look at, such as trauma, ensuring that we're preparing, and also ensuring that we're prepared to, receive any students at any stage of their educational career, whether it's pre-K or any other point throughout their educational career, and ensuring that we are preparing them for success, in college, career, and community. And also we talked about, possibly merging this point with the point later on about preparing students for college and career readiness. And then we also talked about some of these things being hard to track, and or it's hard to track things that aren't necessarily measurable. And I think Ms. Silvestri mentioned that in the strategic planning committee, that's something that they've, a problem that they face. So making sure that the data points that we're looking at are objective data points so we can actually look at and actually track and measure over time. And then the next category, disparities in student learning, we thought, this was an important category that still needs to have its place within our strategic plan. And it's an important goal to continue to work at. But, we've gotten community feedback, or board members have gotten community feedback about the fact that the data for this plan or for this goal specifically isn't as readily available as it should be. So working more on open data and the data dashboards and making sure all of that information is out there for people to look at. And also, only focusing on year 4 and year 5 doesn't give us the full picture of improvement over time with this goal and what we're trying to look at. So maybe also including data from previous years so that the board members and so that our community members can see how we've achieved this goal over time and see those success stories, and be able to fully grasp all of the information that we're looking at, because that year after year we only see slight changes because we are only looking at year 4 and year 5. And then also career readiness, we got cut off a little bit, but we started talking about CTE programs and ensuring that our CTE programs are better preparing students for the professionalism of the actual career that they're pursuing, and ensuring that we are continuing to enhance our CTE programs. And then that's the point in which we got cut off.
Great, thank you so much. Apologies again for cutting you off. I'll make sure we've got a little bit more heads up about when you will be cut off. Thank you all for that feedback. I think that's a really good kicking off point for the conversation. Was there anything that either group would like to respond to the other group about? Pat, go ahead.
Well, on the first one, we interpret the students ready to learn as not just pre-K and not just kindergarten, but really the pre-K to 2 spectrum. And so, because, we recognizing that the benchmark at 3rd grade, students reading on or above grade level is so critical, that all of that pre-K to 2 should be incorporated in that first goal, not just pre-K.
So potential clarification of the definitions. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Just as a piece of information for the board, and I know many of you know this, and we've talked about it before, we did a study 3 years ago just to look at our cohort progression of students. And if you remember this, or if it's new information for you, when we looked at a specific grade level that was in 9th grade, from pre-K through 8th grade, 75% of those students were with us that entire time. So we can work from, at this point, about 3 out of 4 students between kindergarten and 9th grade are with us in Montgomery County for their entire educational career. And so when you think about early learning, you're thinking about 3 out of 4 students that will just be there from the entry to school until they enter high school. And then we have other students that join us along the way or join us in high school.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Any other questions or thoughts from the group before we break out and focus on the next 3 goals?
I just want to reiterate what Mr. Asante said about that first goal. It's not just about when I think we want to broaden it to whenever students step foot into our schools. And, Ms. Harris mentioned kind of the international student. We talked about just students being emotionally and mentally ready to learn. And that's why we brought up the issue of trauma, addressing trauma. If students are experiencing trauma, it may have come to us in pre-K, but they're not emotionally and mentally ready to learn. So that's why we wanted to expand it beyond our youngest learners and broadening it to mean any student in our system being ready to learn once they set foot in our classrooms.
Ms. Wolf.
And I like that idea. I'm wondering, though, if we should add a specific goal for that, because I think we definitely need to keep the focus on pre-K through 2, because particularly since we've had this pandemic, we know that there is a lot of learning loss, and that these are the kids that we've really got to make sure that they're up to speed in the next year or so. So maybe we want to consider adding something either to that goal, or I really think pre-K needs to be, not pre-K, but pre-K through 2 needs to remain a separate goal, a separate focus in light of the pandemic.
Ms. Evans.
I agree with Ms. Wolf, and that's something that I did state in our small group, that I felt like under that strategic goal, we talked about Be Well 365, but there was a way that we could raise up the trauma-informed, mental state of some of our students. That definitely that would be great, but I too wanted to keep pre-K in there as well. I thought it was very important. I talked about the strides that we had made, but there's still more work to do, and there's a way. But so in our group, it was a discussion. It wasn't saying this is what's firm, but it was talked about, here's some thoughts, and how can we either add to this goal, or is there consideration to some of the thoughts that were discussed being put in another goal? So I just wanted to add that.
Ms. O'Neill.
Yeah, so I really think that the Students Ready to Learn needs to be focused on the pre-K to 2 piece as stated, but I totally believe, the issue of trauma and the Be Well 365 social and emotional, and, especially in light of the pandemic, I would argue that maybe we need a category on coming out of, the pandemic, the impact. But, in a normal existence, the issue of trauma is very real. But anyway, I think the first goal structured on pre-K to 2, but I think maybe there should be a social emotional trauma category goal.
Ms. Mondrowski.
So I agree with that. I'm going to go back to what we discussed in our group about I feel like ensuring students are ready to learn. That encompasses everything. It encompasses whatever you personally feel like that, or we as a system feel as a focal point. And I don't know that I think that we need to specify any one group specifically, because that's the work that has to be done through the system. I 100% agree, though, that there should be a topic, whether it's something like addressing students' social and social emotional well-being, or supporting students' social emotional health, whatever it might be. But again, then I don't think it's necessary to break it down into specifically what that means, whether it's but it's just about the whole child, making sure that, and all children, regardless of what their situation is, whether it's from the pandemic or a family situation or trauma from, world experiences or whatever it might be, it would all still fall under the one topic if we picked a topic line for it.
Okay, so it looks as though people's comments have been heard. Let's move into the next 3 goals, only because you can certainly discuss this idea even further in your small group breakouts. So let's move into the next 3 goals. The next 3 goals are a safe and healthy learning environment, efficient operations, and highly effective employees. Those are the 3. We'll be addressing the same 3 questions that you addressed in the first 3 goals. So same 3 questions, 3 new goals to be discussing. Are there any questions about this next breakout session, which will also be approximately 30 minutes? Okay, the 3 discussion questions are in the chat function, so you should have them all there. I'm going to put them back in there so that you've got them and you can refer to them. And I am now going to be breaking you out for the next 30 minutes, at which point we'll come back together. And please remember to have somebody chosen to report out again. Thanks all.
Hello, we're back from our breakout room session, and I'm going to turn this over to Molly to continue. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for coming back. I hope the conversations in the small groups were productive, and I know I would love to hear what was discussed. So do we have the first volunteer to give us a summary of your small groups discussion? Great, Ms. Mondreski, go ahead.
Sure, I'll go ahead again. So continuing along the work that we did in the first breakout session, we felt that a lot of the verbiage for what was going under the topics should be handled in the committee and worked through during committee. And so, but one thing, so we adjusted the last 3 points to, instead of a safe and healthy learning environment, we wrote providing safe and healthy learning environments. Instead of efficient operations, we were designing and implementing efficient operations. Highly effective employees, we wrote hiring, supporting, and retaining a highly effective and diverse workforce. And then we, to everyone's point in the last discussion, agreed that there absolutely should be an additional bullet that addresses social, emotional well-being. So we wrote addressing and supporting physical, social, and psychological well-being and how it is incorporated in each goal, because we felt it was very important to emphasize the fact that social, psychological, and physical health is crucial in the effects that each of these goals are going to have. I'm not sure that I'm saying it the right way, but I think hopefully you all know what I mean. In other words, we think social emotional well-being is important in relation to every single one of these goals that we have as a system. So, but we wanted it to be targeted as a bullet point to ensure that as the strategic planning committee is doing their work, that is something that they're considering and looking at in the effort of every other goal. We also, back to some of the discussion from before the breakout session, felt it was very, very important to add an umbrella statement about the pandemic. So we wrote, this would be at the top, and then potentially underneath it could be the social emotional well-being comment. But so for the very top, we thought, we wrote, for the 3-year duration of this strategic plan, the board will annually evaluate system efforts to mitigate and remediate the effects of the pandemic on student learning. And just so my team doesn't think that I reworded it myself, that was this recommended verbiage from Lori Christina sent to me, but I liked it. So hopefully, unless anyone of the team has change, that's what we decided. Okay, Jack's giving the thumbs up, so that's good. And that was pretty much all we did.
That sounds like a lot.
I was going to say, which was a lot.
A lot was accomplished, and the other group will have a chance to respond. Both groups can respond to the other group after the second group presents. So Thank you very much. And who was the volunteer from the second group? Go ahead, Mr. Asante.
All right, so for the safe and healthy learning environment, I think the biggest piece that we grappled with here was family engagement and trying to, measure family engagement, and also understanding that each school faces different issues and different challenges in terms of engaging with the community. And so I think we also mentioned how just this goal itself was something that's been hard to track for the strategic planning committee, and figuring out ways in which we can better track that. And we suggested adding welcoming and inclusive to the heading to encompass that family engagement piece, because the description itself had talked about safe and healthy and also ensuring that families are engaged, but the heading itself didn't necessarily match the verbiage under the description. For efficient operations, we primarily talked about ensuring that the data for work order completions and the data regarding our operations was more transparent to the public, or ensuring that we had an easier way for community members to access the data, and also talking about the ways in which the pandemic has sort of shaped our ideas of what efficient operations are. So including pieces like technology and things like that to better encompass what our school system looks like now and the ways in which our school system has to operate now. And also just talking about the environment, ensuring that we have indicators for our commitment to environmental stewardship, and ensuring that that information is available as well. And then for the last category, highly effective employees, talking about, how do you measure things like cultural proficiency, and ensuring that our measurements and our indicators continue to reflect the description and the heading that we have for that category, as well as talking about, teacher retention and ways in which we can support our employees, and, ensuring that that's something that's prioritized with that goal as well. And then also talking about looking at, educational backgrounds of our employees, and the educational training that they've received before stepping into the classroom. And that's essentially, I think for the most part, that's what we talked about in each category. I don't know if I missed anything, but.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any comments from one group to the other on what was just summarized? Questions or comments for the groups?
I just, and it can be addressed either now or in committee, but I wanted to let Mr. Asante know that I heard what he said. So I rewrote our bullet point to read: providing safe and healthy, welcoming and inclusive learning environments. And again, everything's up for however it ends up being finalized, but I just wanted them to know that I heard what their committee was saying, and I agree.
I just wanted to comment. Our group just really looked at the high level goal and not the data points underneath, because in support, I think that our mission today really is to agree on the high level, and then the work of the committee, and then coming with agreement from the full board is that the nitty gritty, the data points, the supporting underneath. So, I mean, you guys seem to take a different approach than we did. We were really just looking at the goals, and, anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks for pointing that out. And the committee will finalize, and then the board will be able to vote on it. But yes, this conversation is discussion so that the committee can take it and move further with it. So thanks for pointing that out, Ms. O'Neill. Go ahead, Ms. Sylvester.
Yeah, we've hinted a little bit about it in our discussion of the coronavirus. But I feel like we also need another discussion for a later time, or maybe as a part of the committee work, about the future of education. So we know that the virus has changed the way that we do education, but what else should we be thinking about as we draft our strategic plan for the next 3 years? So we've been kind of reactive to the current plan, which was our assignment for today. But I encourage there to be some dialogue with the committee and our teachers and staff about the future of education and what else needs to be a part of this plan.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
So can I just offer a couple of thoughts about that, Ms. Silvestre? Just so to get them on the table, one of them is the ever evolving and increasing digital component of education. And the other is, starting in FY23, the system will have the capability finally of knowing much, much more about the budget alignment to the strategic plan, because of the new budget system that's being implemented right now that we started implementing in 2018. So when you look at the new HR system, the new budget and finance system, and the new student information system, those three pieces coming together between 2018's inception and 2022's kind of finalizing all the systems will make it easier for the board, the staff, everyone, the community to have much, much more information about the alignment between the budget, the HR functions, the student experience, and the board priorities. So those are two of the things looking forward that I think are worth considering.
Thanks much. And that is absolutely figuring out, where budgeting is a big part of your role, your roles and responsibilities. And so ensuring that the budget and the resources that you allocate to these goals is important. One of the things that I heard a couple of you say is, talking about the specific topics falling underneath these goals and how currently we're focusing on the goals themselves. I will say that our conversation after lunch today will be focused on what are the agenda topics that you all want to focus on over the next year. And I'd encourage you to think about that in light of the strategic plan and how you think you'll be moving forward with this strategic plan. Any other thoughts or comments from one group to the other about their recommendation?
I have a general question though. Being a strategic plan, so, like our document here reads strategic plan goals. It is capable to just list what our goals are, right? For the finalized thing, and then have the work of the committee not be listed as what our goals are, right? Or is that not acceptable?
Could you ask that in one other way? I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah. What we were suggesting, what our group was suggesting, removing all of the description stuff, that is an acceptable strategic planning goals document, yes or no?
It absolutely can be. It seems to be that the history of Montgomery County does have descriptors in it, which helps the public further understand what exactly those goals mean. So it could go either direction.
Because people could go onto the strategic planning committee section and see what's being worked on, right? I'm just trying to clarify for people so that they don't think we're just eliminating for the sake of eliminating. We just thought it was a little bit more succinct this way.
Yes, absolutely. These descriptors could certainly just be found on the website and not necessarily considered part of the goal itself. But then again, you could include it as part of the goal to make it more clear to the general public. So it would be something that I would suggest that the strategic planning committee maybe determines in their committee work. Okay, fantastic. So this was a great beginning conversation for what your future goals look like. And a lot of this work will be discussed in more depth in that committee group. When we get back from lunch, we'll have about an hour, not quite, about 50 minutes. At 1 o'clock, we'll come back from lunch. And that's when we'll be discussing really what the agenda topics for the year you all would like to cover. Now, when we go back to our conversation about organic conversations versus very organized conversations, having agenda topics is important. It helps you all figure out how to accomplish these goals that you're talking about. So what exactly are the deeper, more in-depth conversations that you all need to have in order to accomplish these strategic goals that you're currently trying to create? So over the next, 50 minutes now, be thinking about that, but also make sure that you fill your bellies with some food so that you can focus as we come back. And I think I'll hand it on over to you, Ms. Wolf.
Great. So I'll see you back here at, let's say 1:10. Can we do that, Molly, to give them
I think
an
that's
hour?
just fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. See you at 1:10. And good afternoon. Welcome back. We've all had a good lunch, or at least we've had some snacks. I'm going to turn it over to, there's Molly. I didn't see you for a second. I'm going to turn it over to Molly to continue. Thank you.
Great, and thank you to everyone for the conversation before lunch about the strategic plan goals. I just wanted to quickly, before we moved on from that conversation, I just wanted to quickly check with the chair of the Strategic Planning Committee, Ms. Silvestre. Did you feel as though your committee, based on that conversation, has enough to go off of? Are there any other questions or topics of conversation that you want to cover so that your committee can continue forward with the strategic plan?
Yeah, I think today's discussion is a good starting place for our committee. And of course, the committee will be coming back to the Strategic Planning Committee into the process as well, where we can provide feedback and direction on the work. So I think this is a good starting point. And any members that have not given our staff recommendations for membership of that committee, groups that should be invited, please do so as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you then. The next item on our agenda does tie into the conversation about the strategic plan. What we would like to talk about now is what topics would you all like to cover for the next year's agendas? So we're not talking about just the next meeting. We're talking about the entire year of board meetings as well as committee meetings. So I would like you to just be brainstorming. There aren't any wrong answers necessarily at all. Brainstorm what topics you think this group of people and the subcommittees should cover over the next year. And this is just a brainstorm session. So we're just going to go ahead and call out your ideas. And if you could also include, do you think the topic that you're suggesting needs to be addressed by the full board or by a committee? And if by a committee, which committee should address that topic? So I think the best way to do this is to simply maybe raise a hand, either a visual hand like this so that I can see you, or if you want to raise your hand digitally on the reactions, then I can just call on you. And I would love to make sure that everyone has input. And maybe what we can do is just go one topic at a time. So let's just say that Mr. Asante raises his hand first. Mr. Asante, if you wouldn't mind just giving one idea, and then we can come back to you for the rest of your list. Okay, so again, the two questions are, what topics does the board need to cover over the next year or would like to cover over the next year? And does it need to be a full board conversation or should it be a committee conversation? Ms. Wolf, I saw you had your hand up, so why don't you go ahead?
Well, a big topic for me is equitable access to special programs. I think that it is a full board topic. I don't even know which committee, because it cuts across almost every committee because it's a financial issue, it's a special populations issue, it's a strategic planning. So I think it's a full board issue and definitely a communications issue.
Great. Thanks for kicking it off well with something that goes across all topics. So thank you. All right, Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Sure, thank you. So I'm going to say communication / community engagement. We just formed our communications committee last year, which Ms. Wolf was the chair of. And so communication is all ongoing. And, you know, I think what I find is that MCPS is doing a lot of great work. We can always continue to improve because we do say that you don't have to be sick to get better, to Dr. Smith's phrase. But, you know, we hear from various stakeholders that are just not aware of the enhancements that we have made. So we could just hone how to get that information out to everyone. And then community engagement. We always talk about wanting to make certain that we're reaching the hard to reach communities. You know, there are various stakeholder groups that we always hear from, and then there are communities that we are not hearing from as often as we would like. So just that's an area that I want us to continue to focus on.
Great, thank you so much. And I do appreciate these overarching topics are fantastic. If somebody has something that falls underneath any of these more overarching topics, feel free to bring that up as well. Ms. O'Neill, go ahead.
Oops. Okay, so I think that a lesson learned from the pandemic, and one that I know Ms. Simondrowski has long been interested in, is access to those courses that may not be offered in your home school, and how can we have students access an individual course and remote access to learning, expanding opportunities for our students via technology.
Great, a very timely topic. Ms. Silvestre, go ahead, and then Ms. Daca, you'll be next.
I think this is on top of mind for all of us, but I would really like for us to focus on recovery of learning. Of course, we know that our students, some are doing well, but many are not doing well. Some have completely fallen off the grid. So I would really like for us to focus on that, which folds nicely into our long-standing work in the achievement gap.
And just to clarify, I want to make sure that I'm fully understanding, is this also a full board topic, or does any of this work fall into a committee in your mind?
Well, I think it's a full board topic. As this might be too much in the weeds, but we often see data presented to us system level, and I would like for us to kind of dig deeper into school level accountability. So, you know, we often talk about third grade reading, fifth grade, eighth grade, 11th grade indicators, but it's hard for us as board members to shine a light on what needs to be paid attention to next at that level. So recovery of learning, but also at a school level data analysis as well.
I was going to comment on Pat's statement, but I forgot. It went that fast when we were talking about recovery. But I do want to mention recovery is really important. And there was an article in the Post that I will share with everyone that there is a company called McKinsey & Company, and they predicted that will cost $2,500 to do some recovery, which each student in the United States, and will need $66 billion to do that, if that's what we think is important.
Yeah, Carla, I totally agree with you. And, you know, when we did our budget priorities, recovery of learning loss was my #1 priority. And I believe it really needs to be a full board agenda item, and it needs to be our agenda item every meeting for the next year. And when I offer the, lessons learned, I offer that as in addition to, but I think we have to stay focused, in the Harvard process of the instructional core, the students and instruction, and that's the recovery of learning for the next year, for the foreseeable future.
Thanks for adding that in. Ms. Harris, I know your hand is up as well.
Yeah, the first thing that I would mention, and I think it embraces many of the things that we're trying to achieve as a system and many of our areas of priority, is looking at how really pushing the work around trauma-informed practices to make sure every school is comprehensively embracing and rolling out a set of trauma-informed practices that are part and parcel of its work every day, and that staff feel very well trained in techniques and strategies to help their schools be fully informed. And I think that's a whole board topic, because the better we do that, the better we're supporting students, the more we're reducing issues relating to discipline, the more we're making sure students are ready to learn in their classroom every day, the more we're improving school climate. I think it really, really is very overarching to all of the work that we need to do.
Both what you just mentioned, Ms. Harris, as well as Ms. Silvestre, what you mentioned earlier, some of the topics that could be suggested are things that could be reported on by the administration. And so if there are things that you would like reports on, that is certainly an agenda topic as well. So if there are those kinds of things that you would like to hear from the staff on, feel free to suggest those as well. Let's see, Mr. Asante, and then Ms. Mondreski.
I think one issue that I think the full board needs to have a conversation on is issues regarding, I think, sexual harassment. I feel like, I know we, approach it with policy, and I know the policy committee right now is, working on that policy regarding sexual harassment, but I think it's important to take an approach similar to the way in which we deal with racism, where we recognize that it's a cultural issue. And I think, there are certain certain systems within school culture that I think continue to allow acts of sexual harassment to take place. And I think it's important to talk about that in that way, looking at, getting rid of the stigma around reporting and, finding help you need. Also further making sure students are aware of what is considered sexual harassment, understanding boundaries and things like that. And I think that's a conversation that needs to be had with the full board about how to tackle the culture surrounding sexual harassment within schools.
Thanks for sharing, Mr. Asante. Ms. Mondreski, your turn.
So one of my absolute top priorities, as Ms. O'Neill mentioned, was the access to courses and expanding access and opportunities with the stuff we've learned through this pandemic with online learning and attendance and things like that. One thing that is important to me, but I wasn't exactly sure how to word it, because it unfortunately sort of falls under, most of the categories, but I would like a presentation on how how the use of the data that we've been collecting or whatever, particularly broken down to at each school level, is being used to improve outcomes. So we've spent years and millions investing in updating our much needed updates in a lot of our systems, and Dr. Smith has been really invaluable in making sure that that's all gotten brought up to where we should be at this time in how things run. But I'd like to see how we're utilizing that data down to the school, to the classroom, to evaluations and everything, to making sure every student is improving based on what we've done. So that's kind of a big one. And like I said, I don't know how exactly it goes, because technically it should fall into every category, but just even one big presentation over what each school's doing and how it's having a positive effect I think would be really helpful. And then ESOL and special education, particularly with the struggles that and the learning loss from this pandemic, and the new curriculum. And there were so many things that we kind of started and that have gotten paused. And I don't know if that should just continue at the special populations committee level, but obviously eventually those things need to all come to the full board.
Dr. Smith, do you have any response to that suggestion there?
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea to continue to update the board and show the board what's possible. Right before the lunch break, I was referencing the new systems that will allow us to align the budget much more closely to the priorities and know what that is. But we ought to also know at the school level, what effect it's having. And yesterday we were in a conversation about the anti-racist audit, and we talked about the 4 quadrants in navigation. And the board members know what I'm talking about because they've all seen this. And there are issues that we intellectually address, issues that we address as social issues with action and social justice, issues that we respond to emotionally. But the first one, I think, always is the kind of moral dilemma or decision that we make. And much of the data that I look at, it really is going to ask the board, as we have these new systems in place and we can more fully integrate data, and so that we can see across our 24,000 staff members, across our 208 schools, across our budgeting and finance, and across our student information system, how those things intersect, and to make some relatively hard decisions. Because if we're going to look at school data, and I do, and I believe we should, then the question has to be, once we look at it together publicly, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do with it? And that's going to require, and the same with our HR data and our staff. If we look at the data and the staffing aligned with the budget, then it calls into question the issues and topics of how we use the 91% of our budget that's tied up in staff. And then the question is, what are we going to do about it? And what it means, and I'm just going to be very blunt, what it means is 5 board members will have to raise their hand, or 6 or 7 or 8, to say, we're going to stop using staff in this way and start using it more in this way. And, I've now sat through, next Monday night, it'll be 5 years worth of budget hearings. And often those budget hearings are reduced to arguing about 1/2 of one position out of 24,000 positions. And, I'm just being very direct about what that's going to mean. But those are the sorts of things that I think that are going to be necessary as we look at really supporting our students and eliminating the disparities that we see and opening the access fully across this system. The board has done some very, very courageous things. So please don't take this as a negative comment. It's not. It's just the next logical step. The anti-racist audit is the next logical step in that work. This would be the next logical step in the work to create access opportunities and provide the support and the experiences for students that they actually need and will benefit from across all students, all grades, all subjects, all races, all cultures, all language groups, any way that you slice and dice it. So I think that's a very, very good suggestions that I'm hearing. I also think they're going to take a relatively healthy dose of the courage to make those decisions and then act on them.
Thanks, Dr. Smith. Ms. Daka, you go ahead. You're on mute, so if you can take yourself off of mute, that would be great.
I was thinking, I forgot what I wanted to talk about when Pat mentioned it, and then Ms. Wondrowski mentioned it also, about the special courses. And it always sticks in my mind about the Russian course that was at BCC. I don't know whether it's there anymore, but a lot of kids wanted to be there to take that. But now that we've been through this virtual and remote learning, we may be able to accommodate more students in that kind of area, in those special courses. So I think we're going to be ahead of the game. And the other thing I wanted to say was, Lori, Christina, and Robin can update us on policies that have to be done. For instance, Mr. Asante mentioned the sexual harassment one, and that took some time to do. And we also did discipline, and there were other ones, but some of those have to be done. So if we put something new in, we have to remember that we have other things that we have to think about as well.
Great, thank you, Ms. Daka. So thank you, everyone. We did hear from each person, so I appreciate that. So let's go ahead, and if you have a second idea, we can go ahead and start those. Ms. Wolf.
I just wanted to go back and remind everybody about the sort of theme of today, and that is that we were going to try to come up with priorities that cut across the board so that the strategic plan had the priority, the committee work has the priority, so that there's an alignment of our work. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is that last year we did a great job of coming up with a whole list of topics. And topics is one reason why our board meetings get longer, because we have to then get presentation on all these topics. But we were trying to come up with things that we can carry through. And I don't know if I'm being clear about this, but we're looking for alignment. So for instance, Carla mentioned recovery. Well, recovery is a good theme that you can carry through to all the committees. And it's one that we've been working on and know what to do. And then we could talk about what our agenda for that recovery discussion should look like. But I just wanted to point out that we need to try to think of how whatever we're asking for would fit into an overarching theme that would align the work of everything we do. Am I making myself clear? And I think it will also help Carla and then with the strategic planning. And Judy, I raised that same issue. What do we do if we have policies that, are on the cycle to come up and they don't fit into the theme? But that's something I think that we're going to have to talk further about, see what we could do about that. But I know we're trying to come up with something that we can look at and say, everybody has the same goal. So recovery is our goal, and here's what we're working on to show that we're accomplishing something under recovery. I don't have a second topic just yet. Well, I actually do, and it's really got to do with seniors and graduation rates, dropout rates, and what's going on there. And I'm not sure what you would call it or how you would prioritize it down to committees. But I think that there's some issues there that we need to look at and that they flow from each other. So it's sort of readiness for college, readiness for other things, whether or not they've dropped out. And wait, I had another note here about it. Hold on. And no, it was graduation rates that I was concerned, graduation rates and dropout prevention.
That's actually a really great example of tying that into one of the strategic goals that you all discussed earlier. And I do, to your point, Ms. Wolf, absolutely. If you are thinking about those strategic goals and then coming up with the topics that you want to hear more about or the kinds of discussions that you have about those strategic goals, I think that's a really good way of, to your point, Ms. Wolf, making sure that we have common themes across the year. So thank you for that.
And I don't want to say it's not that we've done anything wrong in the past. It's just that we're trying to make the work aligned so that everybody's speaking from the same thing about what our system priorities are.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've got 3 people with the hands up. We're going to go Ms. Harris, then Ms. O'Neill, and then Mr. Asante.
Yeah, I would like to, in the guise of the Fiscal Management Committee, take a look at our system-wide environmental sustainability and how we can both to reduce our carbon footprint and save money.
Great, thank you. Ms. O'Neill.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that our agendas for the board meeting, we should stop and pause, you know, when or through the agenda setting process. Which goal is, you know, we all have had issues that we throw out, but I mean, you know, I think recovery of learning is overarching throughout the strategic plan. But the other, when we have an item on the agenda, which goal are we looking at specifically in alignment with the strategic plan? On the policy issues, you know, every single policy when it's adopted has a scheduled time for review by the responsible offices. And, you know, then it either comes to the full board because we need to make adjustments, or through state law changes or federal regulation changes, or a board member's new business item. But, you know, so that's all how things are triggered, not necessarily guided by the strategic plan, but by legal and legislative action, and also no longer in alignment with what we're doing. So I just throw that out about the policy.
You know, I appreciate that. One thing that we could maybe do in this conversation, as we are throwing out specific topics to be discussed, perhaps what we could do is we could have people align them to the goal that they think they might fall under. And you have your 6 goals that, as we know, will be edited slightly, plus the one that was recommended about the really the social emotional well-being. So that is one that will at least be considered. So maybe those are the 7 goals. If you want to, as you're throwing out topics, try to align them to one of those and actually state that, just so that the whole group kind of understands where you're putting it. And sorry, Mr. Asante, we're going to have you do that first since your hand was up.
All right, I think sort of following up after what Ms. Wolf said, and I think this aligns with students being prepared for a college career and community. I think focusing on with the conversation around what happens after school, I think oftentimes we focus a lot on college, and I think there are some students who feel who don't want to go to college necessarily right after high school, or want to take a different path right after high school. And I think we should spend some time making sure that those resources are available to them. I know we have our CTE programs, but I think more can be done to ensure that they do feel prepared for life after being in the school system.
Thank you for that, especially from a student who's in school right now. Thank you. Who else? I'm looking for hands. Great. Ms. Silvestre.
Again, I want to reiterate that recovery of learning is my #1 priority. I wanted to second the need for trauma-based schools and training in order to get there. And my topic right now is under the strategic plan goal of college and career, getting ready for college and career. And that's just what more could we be doing to help students transition to post-secondary. So they don't want to go to get a 4-year degree, but there's lots of people need post-secondary training to access high-paying jobs or just livable wage jobs in our counties. So I know that some states have, I think it's Texas, that every student completes a FAFSA. I know that we have students that are undocumented and don't qualify for a FAFSA, but now there's a MIFSA and funding available for undocumented students to access. Again, maybe it's 4-year degree, but maybe it's just post-secondary training of some sort. So that's a lower tier priority than the big recovery of learning topic, but since we're brainstorming, I wanted to put it out there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody else have any ideas? You know, really looking back on if we fast forward to the end of the year, if you were to look back on this year that you are entering into, what do you want to have accomplished? What are the things that you want to have achieved as a group? Ms. Harris, you can go ahead.
So I would put this under highly effective employees, and circling back to what Nick was saying about the sexual assault and harassment issue, and what we've been generally talking to about our need around becoming an anti-racist school system. And that's taking another look at the trainings that we require of our employees, and perhaps recreating some of those with the student lens. I've taken those trainings many times, cultural proficiency and microaggression and all of those. And what I think is missing is the student experience of our school system, which I think would really help to inform our teachers and staff on the topics that those trainings are targeted to. And, and I think some of those also trainings may prove valuable for students themselves in age appropriate ways.
Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Sure. Really glad that we're having this conversation and allowing the community to hear our thoughts and our thinking. So during COVID-19, just really always thinking about reducing and eliminating disparities. And so just really want to go back to the priority that the board has had and will continue to have around elementary reading, right? Making certain that our kids in particular, as they're about to approach third grade, that they're on track and that they're ready to proceed. So wanted to put that out there as well.
Great, and I know that's one that you all have been focusing a lot on, and it's okay. You can continue to focus on the things that you have focused on in the past.
Right.
So
yeah, so to have a discussion about where we're at, where are we?
Great, we'll go Ms. O'Neill.
I just wanted to say that we do have a list of topics from last year too, that we probably need to sit down and review and see if there's some overarching themes in those that we need to carry through that fit under some of the goals that we are talking about for the strategic plan. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to look to Robin or Lori Christina. That list, you've got it, and this group can review it at a later point. Okay, great. Ms. O'Neill, go ahead.
Yes, I think in terms of trauma-informed practices, I think everybody is going to come out of this this school year, staff and students alike. This has been a trauma. It may not have been the trauma, of students fleeing Central America, but, I think more of our students and our community members have been impacted by job insecurity, food insecurity, the trauma of remote learning, the stress for our staff. So I think incorporating the psychological and social well-being and the trauma. I feel this has been a traumatic experience for me. The other thing is, one thing when we met with the student leaders back in December, it seemed to me that we were hearing from some of them that the difficulties or inequities in how our schools assist students with the college application process. And I don't know whether it was because of the difficulties involved with this particular year, or that the culture and support within the school buildings. But I think in the goal of, whoops, I dropped my phone. I can't see it right away, but the college and career and community readiness, I think we need to have a conversation about how well we are supporting students, even understanding the need to fill out the FAFSA or the IFSA. Anyway, I think that supporting kids for that next step, we need to have really thorough conversations.
Great.
Can I just say I second that?
Ms. Wolf, go ahead.
I just heard Pat say something that was of interest to me. She said the culture and support within school buildings. That to me is a big issue. I don't know which goal it will fall under, but I think that, somehow we need to, the anti-racist audit is going to be taking a look at that. And I think we need to, and I don't remember what month they might be coming back with something, but I think that's an important aspect of everything we do, the culture and support that our students are receiving in the buildings, in each of the buildings, and the difference in the level of support they're receiving from building to building.
And really what triggered that, I mean, he's been gone for quite a while, but Wayne Wiggum, who was a wonderful leader here in MCPS, he had been a principal both at BCC and Seneca Valley. And he was at BCC first, and he spoke about, when he got to Seneca Valley, there wasn't the mindset of this is the pattern when you take the SATs and it wasn't part of the natural culture at Seneca Valley at that time. And it was striking to him. And, it was one that he shared with us, the difference. And we, MCPS, have an obligation to level the playing field and support all of our kids, regardless of which building they're in.
Great, let's go Ms. Evans and then Mr. Asante.
Yeah, I was just gonna respond to Ms. Wolf's when she mentioned what goal would that be under. That's under 2, reducing and eliminating disparities in student learning. So I like that we're attaching, the priorities to our goals that we already have, because it helps to make a lot of sense for not only the board, but just for the community to see where we're coming from. So I just wanted to raise my hand to say that. And also the anti-racist audit work session is on January the 19th. So we will be having a discussion really soon.
Great. And some topics may fall under more than one category. Somebody mentioned one that in my mind maybe fell under both the highly effective employees as well as students prepared for college and career. And that's a good thing too. Let's go with Mr. Asante.
While we're on this topic too, I think with changing that school culture around college preparedness, I also think recognizing we've talked about this, but recognizing just a lack of access to different resources impacting school culture around college preparedness. And I think finding ways to support students who don't have those resources. And the first things that come to mind are tutoring for SAT and ACT programs, workshops for college writing, things like that, launching different programs to aid students who don't have the financial means to access those programs. And I think that's one of the big reasons why there is such a disparity in different schools regarding culture around college preparedness and filling out going through that entire process.
Ms. Mondowski, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I just, in relation to that, that was one of the things that's on my list. I didn't mention it because I was thinking maybe it's more of a budget conversation, but I do think we really need to evaluate that. And back to Jack's point and what I was saying about looking at data and then using it to make these budget decisions, that's an area, after school supports and things like homework clubs and whatever programs, just tutoring programs and things like that are really going to be critical, especially with our, learning recovery efforts. And so the more we look at that, to Mr. Asante's point, ahead of time, I think will be very beneficial for us in the upcoming budget season, because that is a priority of mine on the budget for the operating budget this year.
And I know one thing for the board, you all, to come up with what you want to accomplish, and then relying on the staff to be able to figure out how exactly they will accomplish it is something that's extremely important for that staff and board relationship. Okay, we have about 5 more minutes with this conversation unless we want to go further, but in the last 5 minutes, are there other topics that you want to just throw to see if it sticks, right? The brainstorming, there are no wrong answers. So any other ideas of something that you'd like to address that you think it's important that the board does address for MCPS? Ms. Silvestre, go ahead.
Resource allocation and alignment of our priorities to the budget is important. And Dr. Smith has spoken about it today, about what the new budgeting system will allow us to do. But I wondered if he could just expand on that or reiterate how we can. It sounds like it's in the works, but that is a priority, I think, for all of us is resource allocation. How are we using the limited resources that we have, and how we can use them better?
Sure. I'm sorry.
Want us to make this a priority. And if you want us to make this a priority rather than talking about it now, that's fine as well.
But I think we definitely need it to be a priority. We've shown you some of the student information system information, for example, in the past year, and we launched it last July in the middle of the pandemic. When we started planning in 2017, and in the 2018 budget for it, no one could have ever imagined would be in the middle of a pandemic when we launched it, but we launched it and we're using it. That tool with the student information system now is going to talk much better to the new budgeting system. The old budgeting system was truly a standalone budgeting system. There was no way to integrate information about student experience, courses, who taught what, many things that go to the nature of the questions you ask, that I ask, that Monifa asks, that we want to get to. When we go back to it, other than getting a bunch of spreadsheets and sitting and counting literally hundreds of thousands of items by hand, there was no way to get those two pieces of information to cross, and connect. With the new budgeting and finance system and with the new HR system, we'll be able to pull information in a much more efficient and integrated way. So, for example, we might want to say, the long question of the credentials of a teacher. We might want to say, we want to see the credentials of the teacher, not what do they have in terms of their bachelor's degree, a master's degree, additional certifications, whatever question we want to ask. And then look at across all third grade classrooms what the experience of children is and what the outcomes for children are as we look at reading proficiency and moving ahead as a reader. Those are the sorts of things we can't do now. They're just not, we can't answer those questions because the systems operate in such separate ways. Many of you have been frustrated in the past because someone or someone contacts you who's applied for a job, and we say at the board table, we don't have any applicants. And then you go, my head's exploding here because I know this person. Well, our HR system does virtually nothing on its own. And the newest HR systems, and the one we're putting in, will literally be able to sustain that communication with an applicant automatically so that it's not human dependent to hit a button and make sure something goes back to them. It'll also say to them, you're missing these things. We have bits and pieces of these, but they're not integrated and they're not whole scale. And so all three systems are being changed during this 5-year period. It's budget year 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 where the 95% of the work will get done. And for example, they're putting in the new budget system right now. The initial pieces of it are going in, they started in November and they're continuing on through January. So I think certainly multiple conversations with the board, work sessions where you actually get in and see what it does and would be very beneficial, because it will help shape the questions then that you want to ask, knowing what the capability is of the system to actually answer those questions effectively. So.
Thank you for that update. Ms. Harris, your hand is raised.
Yeah, just one other thing I would put out there, and I think this cross-cuts every one of the 6 areas that we've been talking about, preparedness and, highly effective staff and, system efficiencies. And that is, we've been looking for years at issues around disproportionality of discipline. We know our students of color and students with special needs are the ones most impacted by our school discipline policies. And we know we've been talking about how we support students better. We've been talking about the impacts of trauma, and all of us observing that we are all going to see a lot more trauma-related issues and responses when we go back. And oftentimes trauma is reflected in behavior. And so I think we want to be very, very mindful of the disproportionality of discipline. And I think when we get the SRO work group report, holding that group accountable to answering the questions presented by the resolution in deeply substantive ways.
Great, thank you. Any other items that you all want to get on an agenda this year? Obviously, this conversation doesn't just end here. If others come up, as we know they do, please add those to Robin and Lori Christina's list at any time that they do come up. But also, I think it's really good for you all to have heard the priorities that each of you individually have and what this board as a whole has on their lap this year. It's a lot. And again, sticking to the topics that fall under the strategic plan, I think will be a very effective way for you all to be able to focus your work and achieve your work. So really, I wish you luck. Yes, Ms. O'Neill, if you have something.
I just wanted to comment because, you had referenced the items that had been on that list. And I looked at them and I thought, it was before Christmas. And I thought, some of them now don't rise to the top. They were all valid issues, but I think that using the lens of sticking to the strategic plan and seeing where a topic fits. I do think legitimately we should go back and all take another look at those and share with Lori Christine and Robin and the officers our thoughts. But I think we have a more disciplined approach by sticking with the strategic plan.
Ms. Wolf.
I agree, Pat. And I also wanted to say that I think that there are subtopics that we will still cover. They are high on our list. I just wanted to point out to Lynn that discipline has been the issue that I have been on ever since I've been on the board, as well as equal access to things. These issues don't go away just because we're trying to align. It's just that we're trying to figure out how to align and get our agenda set as to what specific information we want to get from MCPS when we have our meetings. And so for all of you that have other issues, you should definitely send them into Lori Christina, and we will see if they fit under a broader topic that we can align and send them back out. Pat, do you want to say something?
There's also always the way to refer a topic to a committee for review or establish an annual review. The issue of child abuse and neglect, when we adopted that revised policy, that is reviewed annually by the policy committee, the data. And, there is that ability if not at the full board. I mean, it's a decision the board has to make, whether it's reviewed on an annual basis at a committee or within the full board, but it never goes away. And the issue of student discipline, in my time on the board, it has been reviewed, many, many, many times, and the disproportionality. And it whether it's reported at strategic planning or special pops or within the full board, we should establish those priorities.
Yes, so definitely by focusing your work, as we've said a couple of times now, but really being able to focus it will make you all more productive. You will be able to accomplish more by being able to focus the work that you're doing, because you all know that you have a lot thrown at you on a regular basis. And again, by keeping the strategic plan as really that overarching framework for your work, I think you all will feel productive. And at the end of the year, I think you'll be able to look back and see how much you were able to accomplish and be proud of that. And the MCPS as a whole will be proud of that work as well. Okay, deep breath. You guys have done a lot today. Let's wrap up today. We've got about 25 more minutes, but let's wrap up today with, really, I want to hear from you as individuals now. You've done a lot of work today as a full group board, but as individuals, who each of you consider yourself as an individual, why don't you write down 3 characteristics of yourself? Write them down, brainstorm 3 characteristics of yourself as a board member. Okay, again, that board member hat is on. It's not you as a friend. It's not you as a parent. It's you as a board member. What are 3 characteristics that you think of as yourself in this role? I'll give you just a few moments to write down those 3 characteristics. And then obviously I'll have a follow-up question. I just won't let you hang there. Staff, you know what? I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Give me a thumbs up once you have 3 characteristics. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that, Danielle?
Can you just repeat the directions one more time, please?
Yep, absolutely. 3 characteristics that you think you possess in your role as a board member or in your role as a staff member. So 3 characteristics of yourself. Okay, I saw a couple of thumbs up. So just once you're done with about 3, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'll give you about 10 more seconds. I do a lot of there are no wrong answers. So, so just so you all know, there are no right or wrong answers in this exercise. Okay, what I'm going to have you do now is I want you to take one of those words, whichever it is, whichever one you would like to talk about, and we're just going to go around the room, and I want to hear how you are going to use one of those characteristics that you just wrote down. How are you going to use that to positively impact the work that you all have just discussed accomplishing in the next year? So how can you use one of your characteristics to positively impact this work? And so we'll just give everyone a chance to answer that. And it's a great way to kind of hold yourself accountable for positively impacting the work that you've discussed, and for each of you to hold each other accountable for using those characteristics that you believe you possess to do this good work. So I will, you know what, I'm just going to go around the room based on how I see your faces on my screen. So I'm not even going to ask for volunteers. Let's start with Ms. Smondrowski. You go ahead and go. Oh, nope, we're saying no. The rest of you may not say no, but it'll be okay that you just did.
I was gonna say, I'm not saying no, I just don't want to go first.
Okay. Then I'm gonna move over to Ms. Silvestre.
I'd like to tell you that my top three are: I'm a good listener, I'm data-driven, and I'm strategic. But to answer your question, I think I would like to use my strategic tendencies to help us choose the topics that are most strategic for the entire system to move us forward.
Great. So we got to hear multiple characteristics of yours, but really that strategy and making sure that we're focusing on the right topics. Thank you. Dr. Smith, you're next.
Of the three, I chose focused. And I think that as I work with staff to keep the focus on the strategic plan goals all the time, I think we've done that a lot, but we need to be really explicit. So for example, putting the goal at the beginning of every board presentation, that the goal or goals that we are addressing. And I've already asked Sandy to put this meeting on Monday's cabinet agenda, because now I want all the cabinet members to watch this meeting. I want all the senior leadership team members to watch this. And then I want to provide it to all of our administrators across the system, because then we can keep a very sharp focus on this work.
Great. And as superintendent, that's definitely the focusing of your staff is an important role that you play. Let's go with Ms. Harris.
The one that I chose it's not one word, it's two, bridge builder. And I think the way I can help serve the work of the board as we're attacking and tackling the priorities is ensuring that we are deeply and responsibly connected and substantively connected to the communities that we serve. And we are really and truly making them architects with us of building the best school system that we can.
Perfect. And that input from each of those communities is extremely important. So your ability to build that bridge is a necessary one. Lori Christina, go ahead.
Okay, so of the three, I guess I would pick intellectually curious, not an intellectual dilettante, but intellectually curious. And how I think I would bring that this year is really engage in intentional conversations and pushing each other to sharpen our thinking and deepen our analysis.
Great. You really threw two in there, both intellectual and curious. But no, that's a great example. Thank you. Ms. Wolf, why don't you go ahead? I'm
laughing because I had those same two, but the one that I was really going to use is speaking for those without a voice. I see that as my role on the board to make sure that I'm communicating the needs of everyone in the community, not just those who come to appear before us. That's it.
Thank you for that. It's important to, again, that idea of representing all, each and every. Thank you for doing that. Danielle, why don't you go ahead?
So I am staff, and I have a little bit of a different position than the other staff, which is I do mostly legislation and ombudsman work. So I put flexible, and I picked that one because I think that for me to support the strategic priorities of the board requires me to be flexible in what my role is at all times.
Flexibility, it's something that we all struggle with, but is important. So thanks for being that example. Mr. Asante.
So the one I picked, and I picked this in thinking about the goal of recovery, but I picked insightful in the sense that, I'm the only one in this call, and it's who has sat in a Zoom classroom as a student and has experienced that and sees how a lot of these programs that we talk about at the board table actually get implemented. And so I think, my role as the student member, and especially right now, is expressing how a lot of what we're talking about at the board table is working in the classroom, and how a lot of students and are feeling during this time, and the experiences that they're getting as a result of everything going on. And as we move forward with these goals, how these goals can best translate into the student experience.
Fantastic. Yes, your unique insight is especially important to the board. Let's go with Manifa.
Thank you. The characteristic that I wrote about myself is that I am a connector. And I think all of the information that we've shared around the strategic plan really gets at 3 areas for me. How, in my role, am I able to make connections to all of the work that's done within the system across all of the offices is one area. Secondly, how we make sure that work translates to the schools, which directly then impact our students and their experience. And then third, how does it connect to bring relevance to all parts of our community within MCPS? And that's all of our stakeholders across our large county. And so that's how I see my characteristics of connecting being very important to implementation of the strategic plan.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, connecting those dots is important so that we can focus on how they all tie together to really impact the school district as a whole. Ms. Daka, why don't you go ahead?
I am, oh dear, I'm sorry. I'm persistent in the goal of improving the achievement of students and academic achievement, opportunities and discipline for African American and Latino students. I ran on that the first time. I'm still concerned about it.
Great, thank you so much. That persistence is important in your role for sure. Ms. O'Neill, why don't you go ahead?
So I put pragmatic or practical. We hear from community members with many ideas, and I worry about the realities of our fiscal circumstance and wandering off into the weeds. And sometimes some of the ideas that come before us, in implementing it with 162,000 kids and over 200 buildings and with 24,000 staff are not realistic. And so I operate from the practical, realistic, practical perspective.
Practicality to ensure that you are able to accomplish what you promised to accomplish. Yep. Ms. Mondrowski, are you ready?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Some of what I had written down had already been mentioned, but I have empathetic, and it's very important to me to be representing everyone. So in terms of how, as chair of special populations, is really the best way that I can provide a forum for hearing from and allowing for people to speak their own truths and then bring that into the work that we do. Going broader than just a presentation, but getting actual feedback from the people that we're trying to serve.
The facts and the stories, right?
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
And then the effects.
Right, yep, absolutely. Let's go with Robin and then Miss Evans.
Okay, so mine was problem solver, but really what I was thinking about was process improvement. because that is a large part of my job. And so thinking about ways, and now that I've been here now I have a year under my belt, I can help support the board in ways that will improve meeting agendas, process improvement, and the way that the board conducts its business generally. So process improvement is what I'm really thinking about.
And everyone else on this call will thank you for that at some point. Great, perfect. And then Ms. Evans, and I think we've hit everyone at that point.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I feel like Robin has been here, Ms. Seabrook has been here so much longer than a year. She totally gets this work and has been doing a fabulous job. So I wanted to say that. And so the word that I chose was committed to asking the right questions, taking the necessary action that we need to do the right thing for our students, to be able to help every child reach their full potential, right? So that was one of my words.
Committed to that goal, every child reaching their full potential, is really your job as board members. And from my observations of this meeting, it really seems as though you all are extremely focused. And with the varying skills that each of you have, I have every confidence that you'll be able to achieve these things that you've set out to do, both in the strategic plan and in those agenda priorities. So thank you for spending this time today. I hope it felt it was worthwhile and that you feel focused for this coming year, which will obviously be a big year. And just thank you for letting me be part of the conversation. And I'm going to hand it off to you, Ms. Wolf.
Thank you. And Molly, on behalf of the whole board, we want to just say thank you. This has been a terrific day. I think we are really headed in a direction that will serve us well this year. And we just can't thank you enough. So we look forward to seeing you again. You know, we've worked with you in the past. Like I said, I give you a lot of credit for keep coming back, but we look forward to seeing you in the future. And thank you. I think we're done for the day. All right. I guess, do we need a mug?